Hello everybody, this is Hammer Striker here. Got a little episode of the Slimline Wars. We've got the SIG P365XL and we've got the Glock 43X. Please don't forget to check out our website. Go to our affiliates page. You'll find discount codes for things like Mantis X and Core belts. Link to that cool little bore light that we use for lighting up the barrels. Use those links. It will often save you money, never will cost you any additional money, and helps the channel. Thank you. So we did a video in the past, P320, which would be the SIG entry, and the Glock 19, which would have been the Glock entry, and that proved to be real popular, and those were the double stacks. So going to do the same thing now, but with the single stacks. So the 43X and the 48 are similar guns from Glock. They did come out before the P365, but when they originally came out, the capacity was low, and from the factory, the capacity has stayed low. This has got 10 rounds. Other variations, like the original 43, I think had 6 rounds or 7 rounds. Not a lot of capacity. When the P365 first came out, it was in about the same size footprint with at least 10 rounds in that same footprint, and then going up from there. P365XL's kind of doubled down on that. This comes with 12 rounds in its flush mag and an available 15-round mag that I don't happen to have one at the moment, but it extends the grip just a little bit. And the interesting thing is, when you put the SIG extended mag in the P365XL, it makes the grip height roughly equal to the Glock with its factory 10-round mag. So then, of course, you get into all the MOS and stuff like that. So let me start kind of showing you these. So this is the 12-round mag that comes stock with the P365XL. And, of course, it's unloaded. And you can see there's a red dot on this, because the P365XL is a optics-ready gun from the factory. One disadvantage to the P365XL is that when you put an optic on it, you do remove the rear sight. This Romeo Zero happens to have kind of a backup sight, and no, the dot's a lot better than what you're seeing there. Cameras blow up red dots. That's a really nice, crisp, fine dot. So this Romeo Zero is a good red dot. But you can see that what you've got is a little bit better than a gutter for a backup sight should it fail. And the front sight is a SIG light, so it's got the ring around it to make it easy to see during the day and a tritium dial at night. Had I not had a red dot on this, I would have had a rear sight that was tritium, and the sights on the SIG are metal. And that tritium sight was a little harder to see during the day, but it was really easy to see at night. You do have a rail. It's the SIG rail, so not all accessories will fit on it, but most manufacturers have got accessories now that will work with SIG. What you see is it doesn't have a slot like a Picatinny rail does. So you can put SIG rail accessories on this, lights and lasers, but you can't put just any Picatinny accessory. Overall, it's a comfortable gun. It fits well in the hand. And when the P365 very first release, we got a hold of one of the very first ones that ever came out, it had a few issues. SIG quickly addressed that, and since then the P365 series and all of its variations have been very reliable. So they've turned out to be quite good guns if you just ignore that very first 1.0 syndrome that they had with a few of the first releases. The extended mag would come down to about here, and it kind of just extends the grip, and it's got a little base plate sleeve on it that continues the pattern, so you'd kind of come to about there, which would give you a little more than a 3-finger grip. With the flush mag, you get a full 3-finger grip. Maybe if you got bigger hands, you might end up down here, but effectively, nice, good, solid grip, easy to get a hold of. No replaceable back straps or anything like that, but most of these slimlines don't have that feature anyway. And a nice beaver tail that keeps the slide well away from your hand. Overall, these are easy to shoot well, they're comfortable. So let's go ahead and take a look at what Glock's got to offer in this realm. So Glock 10-round single stack magazine, and a lot of it comes down to Glock is still using the plastic casing with the metal sleeve, so of course that housing is taking up some of the space that could potentially have been used for a double stack magazine or the stack and a half. You do have a full 3-finger grip. Put the mag back in there properly. The mag fits flush, but it doesn't really, just like all the Glock mags, it really doesn't participate in the grip of the gun. Nice deep beaver tail. You're not going to get really slide bit by this, and it keeps it up away. Now this particular 43X is not optics ready, but Glock just released optics-ready versions of the 43X and the 48. So I'm going to count the 43X as optics-ready, even though this particular one in my hand isn't, because they are now offered from the factory by Glock in an optics-ready configuration. And one nice thing about the Glock offering is the slot is here. So if you put an optic on it, you retain your Glock sights. Most of the Glocks are your plastic U-dot white sights, but Glocks have been around long enough that there's all kinds of sights you can replace them with. You can get metal ones, you get night sights and things like that. Now, one thing to consider is most aftermarket night sights for Glocks come this way. So the sight kind of comes back this way to make room for the tritium vials or the fiber optics or whatever it is you want to put on it. And that would then interfere with the optics slot if you had an optics ready one. So if you're going to go optics ready, there may be some limitations in what sights are available. You might be able to find some where they come this way. But in most cases, you don't put fancy sights on it if you're going to go optics. The sights become a backup, and you would probably just keep the factory sights that came with it. That'd be your backup, and the optic would be your primary. Now, SIG kind of is ahead of the Glock in rails, because even though the SIG is a SIG rail and it limits your accessories, it's a lot lower limit than no rail. So you're going to be relegated to trigger guard accessories for this, which in this particular release, there haven't been a whole lot of them yet. That'll probably come up fairly quickly. But right now, you're kind of limited in what your options are for trigger guard accessories and, of course, no rail accessories. They do have serrations front and rear, both of them. So from an ergonomic standpoint, the looks are different, but functionally and ergonomically, they're the same. Both are easy to maintain. The Glock, you pull the trigger, pull down the little tabs, release it. The SIG, you flip the lever down. So they both come apart and maintain very easily. Now, you might think, well, the Glock is just completely out of the game because it's only a 10-round magazine. Glock offers no extended magazines, and because it's a single stack, you can't use magazines from other Glocks, so it's out of the game. Well, there is a third party. They're called Shield Arms. They make Glock 43, 48, and they've even got one now for the original 43. And these mags are metal mags, and they've actually proven to be quite reliable magazines. And with this magazine in the flush configuration, I now have 15 rounds in a 43X. There is a disadvantage to these mags. They're metal. The Glock mag release is plastic. So if you don't replace the mag release with their metal release, the mag will chew up the mag release over time. So Glock is not winning this one from the fact concept that you can get 15 rounds. It's just kind of keeping up with the help of a third party. So let's go ahead and set these side by side so you can kind of get a comparison of what they look like. We'll use set these slides up. Now, if I do them slide to slide, it's not actually going to work this time because it's got a red dot on it, so that it is holding it, the red dot is holding it up. So don't worry about the height at the moment. Really what I'm focusing on is getting the length right. So if I line them up and try to level them a little bit, you see the Glock has got slight advantage on slide length. The Glock is 6.5 inches long, and the P365 is 6.6 inches long. So a little bit shorter. Is it enough to make a difference? No. But now let me try to see if I can use this phone to line them up, slide to slide, and take out the impact of the red dot that happens to be on the P365. I'm actually going to flip the 365 to the front because you can see the P365 is a hair shorter than the Glock. Now at the moment, because I've got the Shield mag in them, they're equal. But if I were to put the Glock, as far as capacity, if I were to put the Glock mag in there, this would only have 10 rounds in it. If I put the extended P365 mag in it, it would come up a little bit taller than the Glock. So overall, the Shield has got really the advantage in grip height, which of course is one of the things that matters when you're trying to hide it. The only other two specs that come into play when you're trying to decide on which to get is thickness, and interestingly enough, they're the same. The SIG has kind of an appearance of being thicker, but they're both 1.1, so either one of these is going to hide well. The Glock does have one advantage over the SIG, and that is weight. So not counting the red dot, the SIG is 20.7 ounces, and the Glock is 18.7 ounces. So if you had them set up apples to apples, the Glock is a little lighter, but 2 ounces, minimal impact in whether or not you can carry one. They're both reliable. They're both comfortable to operate. They both have good sighting options. They both have optics ready capability now. When the 43X first came out, it was only available in this color combination, but now it's available with a black slide, so you can get all black if you want. You might start to look to say, are they equal? I think the SIG's actually got the advantage in this case. Why? Because that capacity is factory capacity. No aftermarket parts, no modifications. It just comes right out. You can get that from the factory. It doesn't come with the extended magazine, but it is available. The last thing we'll talk about is safeties and triggers. These both have the internal drop safety functionality. The Glock does have the advantage of also having the inertial toggle, which I do prefer. That gives that a little additional protection against the inertial pull of the trigger. Glock trigger is a Glock trigger, so it works pretty much the same as every other Glock. Decent reset, tactile and audible, nice sharp crisp wall, and I'll show you what all the way out would look like. That's the reset, and that would be all the way out. So they're a decent trigger, and it is a little polarizing. Some people hate Glock triggers, some people like them. I happen to like Glock triggers, and it does work well. Pop the magazine out, it'll be a little easier to do this. SIG does not have the inertial toggle. I wish they did. A little bit of take up. Kind of a longish, ever so slightly creepy wall, but it's light, and then it breaks. About the same reset as the trigger, tactile, or as the Glock, tactile and audible. A little bit of take up to get back on the wall, and then again that kind of a pull through, a little bit of a creepy wall, and it breaks. And I'll show you all the way out. That would be all the way out. So from a trigger travel and a reset perspective, they're both about the same. The SIG has a lighter trigger, but the wall's longer. The Glock has a kind of a crisper trigger, but a really short wall. Which one's better? That's really going to come up to your opinion, what you like. I happen to like the Glock trigger. I like that defined wall. I know exactly where I am. But by no stretch of the imagination would I say the P365 trigger is bad. That might be the thing that actually makes the determination for you, though, not because one is better than the other, but you like one better than the other. So if you try each one of these, you may find you like the trigger on one or the other better. Since you can get both of these to 15 rounds, unfortunately, with aftermarket parts for the Glock, you can get them comparable. If you're going to want to stay factory, the SIG's going to win that. Beyond that, if you like our videos, please give us a thumbs up, share, subscribe, click that bell to be notified. Check us out on Facebook, Patreon, Instagram, Getter, Rumble, kind of everywhere. And thank you.